So we begin with The Guardian, Josh, and the water story.
Water story, yeah. There's also a picture of a... well, I thought it was of England winning some cricket thing, but it's actually a cricketer holding someone. It looks like he's got someone out. Yeah, it was very impressive and obviously very strong, so well done for the health services. But yes, the big story is crisis talks as Thames Water faces £10 billion deficit. And this is Thames Water not having enough money to do the works that it needs to do. Of course, they have paid out nearly £2 billion in dividends to their shareholders, so that money was there. And it's interesting, the article here, at least on the cover, it doesn't mention China, because other articles have put a lot of pressure, because China owns about nearly 10% of...
Sovereign Wealth Fund.
Sovereign Wealth Fund, which also owns parts of Heathrow and, I believe, Northern Gas.
And I imagine the second biggest sovereign wealth fund in the world, famously, and still per capita by far the largest, is Norway.
I think this has just overtaken it.
In total. But,
in total.
But per capita.
Per capita,
But Norway probably got some of it as well, then, haven't they?
Well, Abu Dhabi is one of... But it's...
What are you huffing for, Nick? Do you feel that we should be going in harder on this?
No, it was just sort of the whole per capita debate. I was just sort of... I thought it was like a tiny bit, not the point, but sorry, that was... I usually keep that stuff inside.
Per capita is the most important qualification of any statistic you ever read.
Sorry.
I'm sure you do know this. But the interesting question is, I suppose, you know, how... I mean, ownership of these things is dispersed through pension funds, investors, very possibly the same people who are struggling to pay their water bill will one day take ownership of...
Only in different countries.
Possibly, but I think ours as well. You know.
I actually did forget to pay my water bill once and got a debt collection letter. I'm like, bro, sort your own debts out. Do you know what I mean? It's a bit much in context of their massive debt. And people are talking about whether they have to nationalise or whether we should just regulate more. It is a bit disturbing that China owns that much of it, though, isn't it? When you realise that it's the CIC who report directly to the Chinese government. I don't know what the solution is, because obviously we invest in other countries, they invest in us, but it just feels a bit wrong that China are sort of launching this total war, and one of the things is that, you know, they're soft war and they own our water.
We took that risk 30 years ago when we privatised everything, and the French ended up owning most of our previously nationalised industries, if I remember rightly.
But it's funny, because Cameron was hailing the golden age of the relationship with China, which they've now changed to an epoch-defining challenge. So it's like, we should have seen that one coming.
Golden ages don't last forever, Nick. We've got one other story on The Guardian, which I thought might be worth mentioning.
Oh, 10th of pupils in GCSE year absent each day. Yeah, this is... but basically, it's gone up a whole load since, obviously, lockdown.
Yeah,
essentially, it's just a bit. Yes, 70% since lockdown, and it's sort of it's a shame, because they were really. It felt like it wasn't felt. Numbers show that they were really getting absences under control, and they also were lots of studies that proved that every day a child spends in school makes a difference to their grades, basically.
Right.
And next week, I just got to say that they're going to be on strike for 2 days, so the kids are going to be off for 2 days next week.
All the kids will be going in on those days, I expect. Just go, oh no,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, I was here.
So they basically need... It's just a shame that all of that positive steps that were taken over the last 10 years before that have now sort of gone to nothing.
Big question, I suppose, is to what extent any of those absences are legitimate, whether we're looking at children who are unwell or have mental health issues, or whether they're just off down the amusement arcade.
Well, yes, the fact that it's gone up so much since, they say COVID, I say lockdown. You know, they're saying all these hard-won gains have been lost. The fact is, schools didn't need to be locked down. And we thought we could just turn the country on and off like Windows 95. And this is one of the many ways that it doesn't work. And even people who are quite sort of normie and quite sort of bullish on lockdown have admitted to me that actually, the schools didn't need to be... I think that's a pretty normal view now, that schools didn't need to be closed.
Well, we've got another story about whether the civil servants needed to go home as well, but we'll get on to that shortly.